Welcome back to Empowered Voices, Finding Strength in Survivors. I'm PJ, and I'm so grateful to have you here with me today. If this is your first time checking out my content, I want to give you a huge thanks and a warm welcome to our community. Your support means the world to me. If you find my content inspiring and empowering, please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. By doing so, you'll stay updated on the latest topics and join a community of resilient individuals on their healing journeys. Hello, beautiful souls. Today I find myself grappling with something that has been lingering in my heart for a long time. It's something deeply personal, yet I feel compelled to share it with you because I know that so many of us are on similar journeys of healing and understanding. I've spoken before about the trauma I endured as a child, growing up in a home where emotional and physical abuse were part of my daily reality. That pain shaped so much of who I am today. But as I've navigated my healing journey, I've realized that my story isn't just mine alone. It's also the story of my two sisters, who grew up in that same household, each of us weathering the storm in our own ways. We often get so wrapped up in our own pain that we forget those who were right there beside us, enduring their own versions of the same trauma. I am the middle child, with an older sister who was thrust into the role of caretaker far too young, and a younger sister who, in many ways, bore the brunt of our collective trauma in a different, yet equally painful way. My older sister, being the eldest, took on responsibilities that no child should have to bear. She became the mother figure in our chaotic home, ensuring that my younger sister and I were cared for as best as she could manage. She would wake us up for school, braid our hair, and try to maintain a semblance of normalcy in an environment that was anything but normal. Despite the fact that our mother's physical abuse was mostly directed at me, my sister's burden was immense. The weight of our mother's expectations and the pressure to keep our household functioning fell squarely on her shoulders. I can't help but believe that our mother's behavior toward us was influenced by her complicated feelings about our fathers and the circumstances under which we were conceived. My sister had to grow up fast, learning to drive at a young age so she could retrieve our mother after nights of drinking. The toll that took on her is something I can't fully comprehend, and there are parts of her story that are not mine to tell. But what I do want to talk about is how that trauma affected the bond we could have had as sisters. Our mother's favoritism was a constant presence in our lives, a source of silent resentment that simmered just below the surface. She showed her favoritism openly, and while my sisters seemed to receive the support and affection that I desperately craved, I knew even then that this wasn't their fault. It was our mother's failing, not theirs. My older sister did what she could to protect me, even stepping in when our mother's abuse became too much. We were closer to each other than we were to our younger sister, but the love we had for her was no less real. Our primary goal was to shield her from the trauma that we were experiencing, to ensure that she didn't suffer in the same ways we did. However, in our efforts to protect her, we inadvertently created a different kind of pain for her, one that we didn't fully understand until much later. As we grew older, my youngest sister began to open up to me about how alone and isolated she felt during those years. While we were so focused on escaping our own pain, we didn't realize the impact our actions had on her. We would run away from home, leaving her behind, believing that as long as she wasn't being physically abused by our mother, she would be okay. But that wasn't the case. In trying to protect her from one form of harm, we exposed her to another. She was left to fend for herself, learning to navigate the complexities of our dysfunctional family dynamic without the guidance or support that she desperately needed. When our mother finally left, and our stepfather went into an extensive rehab program, my younger sister was left in that childhood home, abandoned in every sense of the word. She was alone, without the tools or the emotional support to process what was happening around her. This abandonment has left deep scars on our relationship as adults. My older sister and I have managed to stay close. We talk regularly, share our lives with each other, and our children are growing up as close cousins. but the weight of our shared past still lingers. My older sister continues to carry the burden of caring for our mother, a role that has taken a significant toll on her life. It's only recently that she's begun to understand that this isn't her responsibility, that she deserves to focus on her own healing and well-being. It's a difficult realization for her, one that I fully support, but it's also a painful reminder of how deeply our mother's actions have affected us all. Our relationship with our younger sister, however, is far more complicated. She was never taught the importance of family in the same way we were, and as a result, she often finds reasons to distance herself from us. There have been long stretches of time where she has cut us out of her life completely, sometimes for years at a time. When we do manage to reconnect, the conversations are often painful. She reminds me of how abandoned and alone she felt, how our actions, though well-intentioned, left her with wounds that are still raw. It's heartbreaking to hear, and I carry a deep sense of guilt for the role I played in her pain. We were all victims of our mother's neglect and abuse, but the ways in which we coped with that trauma have created rifts between us that may never fully heal. Growing up, each of us had a unique and deeply personal experience with our mother, shaped by the different ways she treated us. For me, the middle child, the abuse was both physical and emotional. I bore the brunt of her anger and frustration, enduring a kind of pain that was impossible to escape. My older sister, though spared from physical harm, was not immune to the mental and emotional abuse that pervaded our home. She was constantly pressured, belittled, and made to feel responsible for things no child should have to bear. Our youngest sister, however, had a different experience altogether. Being the child of another man, our mother treated her with a measure of kindness that we were never afforded. She was never physically harmed, and while she was exposed to the chaos and dysfunction, she never truly understood the extent of the abuse that my older sister and I faced. None of this was her fault. We did everything in our power to shield her from the worst of it. But protecting her also meant keeping her in the dark about just how bad things really were. Despite our efforts, the outcome wasn't what we had hoped for. The three of us had the potential to be so much more than what our circumstances allowed. It's not that we turned out badly. We've all managed to build decent lives for ourselves, steering clear of the paths that could have led us to darker places. But there was so much more we could have achieved if our home life hadn't been such a constant battle. My older sister was a phenomenal athlete. She excelled in basketball, track, and even baseball, with dreams of earning a scholarship and going to college on her athletic prowess. She had the talent and the drive, but the instability and demands of our home life derailed her plans. I, too, had my own set of dreams. I played multiple instruments, was active in JROTC, and was academically inclined, with the potential to secure scholarships for my academic and extracurricular achievements. Yet, the turbulence of our home life pushed us into the streets, where we made decisions that cost us dearly. The weight of those lost opportunities still lingers with us today. We wanted to be better, to rise above the circumstances we were born into, but the reality of our upbringing made that incredibly difficult. The choices we made in our youth were shaped by a need to survive, to find some semblance of control in a world that offered us very little. While we've managed to build lives that are stable and decent, there's always that lingering question of what could have been. My older sister could have been a college athlete, possibly going on to even greater heights. I could have taken a different path, one that honored the academic potential I had. But life doesn't always go the way we hope, and we've had to come to terms with the fact that our childhood left scars that can't be erased. Still, we persevere, carrying with us the lessons learned and the hope that we can create better lives for ourselves and our children, despite the past. I often find myself wondering if our relationship will ever be what I hope it could be. I long for a close bond with my younger sister, for the chance to be a part of her life and to watch her children grow up. But the reality is that our past has created barriers that are difficult to overcome. We all suffered because our mother never healed from her own pain. She was trapped in a cycle of addiction and unresolved trauma, and that cycle was passed down to us. I've spent years working on my own healing, trying to break free from the patterns that were ingrained in me as a child. But healing is a journey, not a destination, and it's one that each of us must navigate in our own way. What I do know is that the love I have for my sisters is unwavering. Despite the distance and the pain, I hold on to the hope that one day we can come together and truly support each other in the way we always should have. I dream of a day when the three of us can sit down together over lunch or coffee and talk openly about what we went through, not just to revisit the pain, but to find a way forward. We need to heal from the damage that was done to us, and perhaps by sharing our experiences, we can help each other on that path. I can't say for certain that this moment will come anytime soon, but I hold on to that hope because it's the only thing that keeps me moving forward. In the meantime, I will continue to work on my own healing, to understand the impact of my actions, and to find peace with the choices I made as a child who was just trying to survive. I know that the journey isn't easy, and there are days when the weight of the past feels unbearable. But I also know that I'm not alone in this. Many of you are on similar paths, trying to make sense of the pain and find a way to heal. It's a long road, but it's one we don't have to walk alone. We can support each other, share our stories, and find strength in knowing that we are all doing the best we can with the hands we were dealt. When I talk about my trauma, I often focus on my own experiences, but I realize now that I've left out the stories of the other children in our home, each of whom endured their own struggles. Our mother was far from perfect, and we were all shaped by the chaos and dysfunction that surrounded us. We did the best we could to make it through, but those years left their mark on each of us in ways that are hard to fully grasp. I wouldn't wish the life we had on anyone, and every day I'm grateful that we all made it out alive. However, there's a sadness that lingers because of what we lost along the way. I wish we were closer as siblings, that we could go on sister trips, share meals, and be there for each other in the way that close families often are. But that kind of bond was taken from us by the circumstances we grew up in. We never learned how to show each other love, and the anger we carry from our shared past has made it difficult to truly connect. My youngest sister, in particular, is someone we miss more than we'd like to admit. Yet the trauma she endured and the way she was affected by our upbringing has kept her at a distance. Each of us has suffered in our own way, and while we've managed to survive, the wounds are still there, deep and often unspoken. My hope is that one day we can all find the healing we need, that we can learn to be the sisters we should have been all along. I'm sharing this part of my story because I know that many of us who have gone through trauma have siblings who are dealing with similar or even different kinds of pain. In my journey, one of my deepest wishes is to mend the rift that exists between my siblings and me, to heal the damage that was done to our relationships. But if that's not possible, I know I'll have to find a way to live with that reality. So I urge you to check on your siblings, to reach out and see how they're doing. The life you shared may have affected them in ways you don't fully understand, and they might need you just as much as you need them. Healing from trauma is not just an individual journey. It's something that can involve the people who were there with you, who witnessed and experienced the same things. Don't wait until it's too late to reconnect, to offer support, and to try to rebuild the bonds that were strained or broken by the challenges you faced together. It's never easy, but the potential for healing is there, and it's worth the effort to try. As I reflect on the journey my sisters and I have traveled, I am filled with a mix of sorrow and hope. We were dealt a difficult hand, one that no child should have to endure, yet we survived. Each of us carries the weight of our past in different ways, and while that weight has shaped who we are, it doesn't have to define our future. I hold on to the hope that one day we can come together, not just as survivors of the same painful past, but as sisters who have found a way to heal and love each other despite it. Healing is a process, often slow and uncertain, but it's a journey worth taking. We may not be able to change the past, but we have the power to reshape our present and future relationships. In the end, it's the love and connection we build with those who have shared our journey that can help us heal. It's never too late to reach out, to offer an olive branch, or to simply let someone know that they are not alone. We all deserve the chance to heal and to experience the kind of relationships that bring us joy and fulfillment. So wherever you are in your own journey, know that there is always hope. There is always the possibility of mending what was broken and finding peace in the places where there was once only pain. We can't rewrite the past, but we can write new chapters filled with love, understanding, and a commitment to being the best versions of ourselves for those we hold dear. And remember, sharing is caring. If you know someone who could use a dose of motivation and empowerment, share this video with them. Together, we can uplift and inspire each other. Thank you for being a part of my community. Let's continue to find strength in our stories.